Today we're driving the 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor. I have been so excited to get behind the wheel of one of these. I've been driving this all week. We just took it off-road to Holly Oaks Off-Road Park yesterday. Filmed a great video for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Today's video, let's talk about what it's been like to live with this thing. How are its road manners? How does it perform? How does it compare to the F-150 Raptor and maybe even the Wrangler 392? First, some specs and information. 37-inch tires comes standard with those. The Bronco Raptor makes 418 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque from a twin-turbo 3-liter V6, the EcoBoost V6. 10-speed automatic transmission, has tons of off-road tech, Fox live valve shocks, lots of chassis and body stiffening going on here. Starts around $68,500 as spec. This is about 78 grand with a few options, but just a whole lot going on here. It is 10 inches wider than the base Ford Bronco. We've got these massive fenders on both sides. Yeah, let's walk around this thing. We'll show you what it looks like inside and out, and then we'll take it for a drive and talk about what it's been like to live with this week. So, very nice looking interior. Love these seats, very supportive. We've got some contrast orange and white stitching here. Alcantara inserts in the middle, Raptor logos. Yeah, looks really nice. Nice little grab handle right here. I love the trimming on this interior. Steering wheel's very special, really thick rim. You've got your orange line over the top here too, just like a Baja truck. On the outside though is really where the styling gets pretty crazy. This has the graphics package. It's about $1,000 optional extra. This also has the optional forged beadlock capable wheels, which they look awesome. You can undo these bits, put on the beadlock ring, and really lower your tire pressure for trail use. Unique taillights, reinforced rear swing out door. Those 37-inch tires are heavy. We have KO2s on the Bronco Raptor. They performed flawlessly yesterday. And of course, this is the hardtop. We also have a carbon fiber reinforced plastic piece here integrated into the roll bar. All of this comes off. You can take the top off, you can take the sides off, the doors, everything comes apart in this Bronco Raptor. A little bit more storage under here. Probably throw some recovery gear right here. Not that you would really need it unless if you got into a crazy situation. The swing out door is a little bit more sluggish and less willing to open and close just because of that reinforcement and the heavier tire. Look at the fenders on this thing. It looks massive, but after spending the week with it, it's actually not as big and unwieldy on the road as I was expecting. It's a lot easier to drive around than the F-150 Raptor, for example. Much shorter wheelbase, much shorter vehicle than the F-150. Everything else in here is pretty much standard Bronco. Plenty of room in the back seats. Got grab handles everywhere to get up into this thing. This side step is actually really nice. I'm 5'10", seated behind myself. I'm perfectly comfortable back here. Pretty nice interior. Love the seats, love the trimming. Yeah, and this Raptor steering wheel. First I thought it was a little bit too thick, but actually after using it yesterday in the wild, I'm a pretty big fan. Proper looking shifter. We've got paddles behind the wheel. Let's take a look under the hood at that 3-liter twin-turbo V6. This is rated for about 15 miles to the gallon in the city, 16 on the highway. I'd say you'll probably average between 13 to 16 miles to the gallon on this, which all things considered isn't terrible. That's about what I used to average in my 2006 V8 4Runner. And you don't have to put premium fuel in this. Recommended octane is 87 regular octane. You can put 91 or 93 in this for increased performance, but it's not required. there isn't even anything mentioned on the fuel filler cap. Look at this. They've got a little bit of a treat there. 1969, 2019, and 2022. Awesome. Yeah, this is a really, really special vehicle. It looks amazing, I think. The fenders have been a little bit of an item of controversy. I am curious to see what people do with them in the aftermarket, if people will start to paint them or wrap them. We have the graphics package on this. I think it looks pretty cool, though I'm not sure if it's worth $1,000. We've got these vents right here, and of course a special hood for the Bronco Raptor, which I think looks awesome. Though it looks like those vents are non-functional. Everything's blocked off. Big recovery points right here at the front bumper. This piece is plastic, but underneath that is a massive solid piece of aluminum, a really beefy skid plate. You can see it's taken on some contact already. Not sure if this is a pre-production Raptor. We do have rigid lights here, which are connected to the auxiliary 1 switch. Not really sure what's going on here with this control arm, but you can see those Fox live valve shocks under there. Tons of ground clearance, and just these enormous tires offer so much flotation and tread contact off-road. This is just a step, it's not a slider. Look at all that bracing and protection. Pretty much everything is reinforced and protected in this Bronco. Got a little bit of open exhaust. The rear diff doesn't have too much protection there, but the ground clearance on this Raptor is so high that chances are you're gonna really struggle to bottom this thing out on any trails. All right, let's hop inside. We'll show you around the interior just a little bit more, and we'll take this for a drive. So before we head out for a drive, let's talk about the steering wheel for a minute. We have a bunch of different buttons and switches. There's a lot going on here. First thing you need to know about is this R button. This is a customized drive mode where you can go in and set this to whatever you want. I have a bunch of different street driving settings set to it right now, but yesterday I changed it to a bunch of off-road settings where we had crawl control, sway bar disconnect, trail turn assist engaged with that R mode. All you have to do to save your settings is just hold it. Next to that, you have a setting to change your steering weight, normal, comfort, or sport. And then over here on the right side, you've got your exhaust settings, normal, quiet, sport, Baja, and then damper settings, normal, sport, and off-road. Normal is the softest, sport's going to ramp things up a little bit more, and off-road is going to be a little bit stiffer to handle big impacts. We have a few different gauge options. So we have this performance gauge cluster. You can switch into trip 1. You can see all of your settings, what's engaged, what isn't. Configure my view. I actually kind of like this performance gauge cluster. It's clear, it's simple. You've got all of your temperature information over here to the left, and then your tire pressures to the right. Lots of features in this Raptor. You can see a bunch of different stuff in the infotainment too. This Ford Sync system works great. We get wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Yeah. All right, let's take this out for a drive and see how it does on the road. Lots of cameras. Those will engage too in Baja and rock crawl modes. It is a reasonably dark interior in here. The rear windows are tinted, and there just isn't a lot of light in here. Though visibility is pretty good, except for out the rear window, where that 37-inch tire covers most of your view. This has been a pretty easy vehicle to drive this week, surprisingly so. I thought the width would kind of throw me off and be a little bit unwieldy to take around town, park in parking spaces, drive in traffic. And you definitely have to keep an eye on things. You can see those wide fenders in your mirrors, and that kind of gives you an idea of how big this is. It's about an inch narrower than the F-150 Raptor, but it's a lot shorter. As a result, it's a little bit more nimble, and it just feels smaller behind the wheel. And maybe that hood line is part of that too. Makes a pretty good noise. Let's switch it into sport mode. You can use the paddles, though with this 10-speed transmission, you're going to be going through a lot of different gears. Super close ratios. the most part this week, I've just left this 10-speed automatic to its own devices, and it does a really good job making its own shift decisions. It's pretty smooth, quite well tuned, much better than a lot of other Ford 10-speeds that I've experienced. No roughness, no wonky shifts at all this week. It's been pretty solid, so I'm very impressed with that. We're going to be doing most of this drive in 2 high, but there's also the option for 4-wheel drive auto, 4 high, and of course 4 low. Alright, so what's the Bronco Raptor like to drive on the street? It's fun. A lot of body roll, but because this is so wide, it's very stable. The KO2s are a little bit talkative, they squeal quite a bit, but they offer enough grip, and it feels about right for what an off-road tire offers. Pretty good traction in the rain, and I'm sure they'll do pretty well in the snow too. They're absolutely massive. You can always air them down a little bit. Placard pressures are recommended. I think they're 37 or 38 PSI, which feels a little bit high in this Bronco. I've got things lowered to 34 or 33 PSI, and ride comfort improves substantially. The shocks here are absolutely phenomenal. The tuning is excellent for street driving. You can adjust it with a press of a button, and you get enough stiffness out of this for a little bit more handling prowess, or if you want better ride comfort, you can just set them to normal. Same for off-road driving. If you're doing lots of low-speed stuff and you want to soften up just a little bit, you can just set it to normal, and it's an easy change right here on the steering wheel. I love all these quick access buttons. This Bronco Raptor is equipped with adaptive cruise control and Ford's lane keep assist system. It seems to work pretty well. Of course, there's much less room for error in this Bronco Raptor just because it's so wide, and you really only have a few inches on both sides to stay in your lane. So I haven't been using the lane keep assist system as much this week, mostly just relying on my own eyes, but cruise control works great. It's a super intuitive system. I love the buttons on the steering wheel. They just work really well. They're super tactile, really nice feedback, and they're very well defined, so I can separate them from each other without having to really look down at what I'm pressing. 80 miles an hour, wind noise isn't bad here. This actually feels pretty good. It's a lot quieter than the standard Bronco. It feels like we've got a little bit more sound insulation in this Raptor, and I appreciate that. There is still higher levels of NVH in this Bronco Raptor, but it's better, and I think a pretty nice compromise, honestly. The fact that everything comes apart in this, that you can take the roof off, make this convertible, pull the doors off, makes it all worth it. This is a pretty comfortable car to drive. Suspension's amazing. NVH isn't bad. It's definitely a lot better than the other Broncos. And for your $70,000, I appreciate that. It's not as comfortable as the F-150 Raptor. The F-150 Raptor borders on luxury vehicle levels of comfort and quietness. And this Bronco Raptor is a little bit louder. It's more rattles here and there. It's definitely a more rugged, off-road oriented driving experience. More Jeep-like, speaking of the devil. I love this powertrain though. This 3-liter twin-turbo V6 offers up plenty of power. It's really well matched with this 10-speed automatic. Railroad tracks. Don't even feel them. Alright, so with advanced track on, around an entrance ramp, not bad. Tires are making a lot of noise. Got a little bit of body roll. But on throttle, pretty good. Good levels of grip. Nice traction out of the corner. This Bronco Raptor is just fun to drive all the time. And the fact that you feel like you can just take it anywhere gives you this unstoppable feeling when you're behind the wheel. There is a little bit of buffeting and reverberation and NVH at highway speeds. But you turn on the stereo, this has a Bang & Olufsen. It sounds pretty good actually, and all that fades into the background. Turn signal is almost quiet in this Bronco Raptor. It's very hard to hear over the tire noise and wind noise. But that said, it was a pretty easy car to have a conversation in. Yesterday, Charlie and I drove out to Hollyoaks. We had both front and back roof panels pulled off, and we were able to talk in here no problem with the windows up and the roof off. It was actually a really nice convertible experience at highway speeds. We have beefed up brakes in this Bronco Raptor. Pretty large units. They offer excellent stopping power. It's just that the nosedive under hard braking is insane. One thing I'm noticing compared to the F-150 Raptor is the exhaust is a little bit more toned down. Even in Baja mode, which in the F-150 is absolutely just raucous loud. It's pretty obnoxious, actually. In this Bronco Raptor, it's a little bit more tame. All right, let's do a quick braking test here once things level out. Yeah, this is Baja mode right now. And it sounds good, but it's not insanely loud, which is kind of nice. All right, ready? No one behind us. Wow. There isn't a massive amount of power here, but it's enough. It's still pretty quick. It gets the job done. What I've been really impressed with this week is just the smoothness and refinement from this Bronco Raptor. Off-road, all of the traction control modes, the diff engagement, the transfer case changes, everything is silent and smooth, and you really don't notice it much going on in the background. It's a very well-developed off-road machine, and it just makes everything so easy, but it's still engaging and fun and exciting to drive at the same time. I have really enjoyed my time behind the wheel on this Bronco Raptor this week. I think this is about as good of an off-road vehicle as I've ever driven, and the compromise in road manners is minimal to none. This drives awesome on the street. The closest comparison right now that we have is the Wrangler 392 with a V8. And that is probably a little bit more of an exciting and fun car to drive around casually just because of all the sounds and crazy noise that V8 makes. But this Bronco is so much better dynamically. Better road manners, better suspension tuning. It's way more capable off-road. You can put it in two-wheel drive and hoon it around a little bit. Whereas the Wrangler 392, you can only keep it in four-wheel drive. It doesn't have a rear-wheel drive mode. So, something to consider there. I do really like this 3-liter twin-turbo V6. Power builds progressively and linearly, but it also has this kind of exciting factor in the higher revs. Above 4,000 RPM, it really starts to pull. I think it makes a good noise. Sounds like a baby GTR. Plenty of torque. This week I was hypermiling it. I got into the high teens on a longer journey, which felt pretty good too. So if you keep out of the throttle on this and you keep your speeds down, below 70 miles an hour. You can get some reasonable fuel economy in this, and the fact that it doesn't need premium definitely helps quite a bit. What's this thing like to hoon around a little bit, have some fun in? I've got to say, it is definitely more buttoned down and a lot more stable than the F-150 Raptor. The F-150 Raptor really slings its weight around, and it can get pretty tail happy, especially in the wet, especially off-road in the dirt. This Bronco Raptor is a lot more buttoned down and stable. The shorter wheelbase offers a little bit more traction and weight distribution so that you don't always have to be counter steering around corners in this thing. It really does put its power down very well, especially in two-wheel drive. In four-wheel drive, it absolutely bombs through high-speed off-road sections. We did a little bit of a take yesterday on a makeshift course, and we were flying around 50, 60 miles an hour in 4 high. This thing just puts its power down incredibly well. I can't wait to get one of these in the wintertime so we can test it in the snow. All right, back into sport mode. The transmission will hold gears in manual mode, and it's just a soft rev limiter. And if you do hit that rev limiter, sometimes it takes quite a while for that 10-speed to shift into the next gear. So you have to be on your gear changes. The paddles are probably best used in automatic mode instead of full manual, just because there are so many gears to shift through, and it will auto upshift when you hit redline or get close to redline in automatic mode. A little bit of squeal from the brakes this week. This is a higher performance pad compound. It has a lot of weight that it needs to bring down from speed. This Bronco Raptor weighs about 5,700 pounds. A little bit more actually, 5,760 or something like that. It's actually just about as heavy as the F-150 Raptor. It's just a few pounds off, which I find fascinating. Overall, I think it hides its weight well. This thing is just a blast to drive. It's actually a little bit more subdued and refined and calmer than I thought it was going to be. So, how can we sum up the Bronco Raptor? Well, this is better than I was expecting. It's really, really good on road, and it's about as good as it gets off-road. Whatever you're going to be using this thing for, it's probably going to be able to do it exceedingly well. The ground clearance, the capability, the suspension tuning, this powertrain is excellent. It just hits all the marks. It's fun to drive. It's a little bit more refined and comfortable and just nicer than the standard Bronco. It's nice to see Ford kind of refining this as they come out with new versions and as the models progress. It's very approachable and easy to drive. And I think it's kind of the perfect size, especially compared to the F-150 Raptor, which I've always thought was too big. This is just about right. Yes, it's still super wide, and it's not a small vehicle. It's pretty tall. It barely fits in my garage, but you got to have that extra width for the stability needed in a vehicle like this. The Ford Bronco is already one of my favorite vehicles on sale today. I think it offers just some of the best blend of driving fun, off-road performance, and on-road enjoyment. And it's just this beautiful combination of pretty much everything that you want out of a vehicle like this. It's a little bit louder, it's a little bit rattlier than maybe the Jeep counterparts are, but they're more fun to drive, and I just really enjoy spending time in these Broncos, and this new Raptor does not disappoint. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up our review on the Ford Bronco Raptor. I have been thoroughly impressed with this SUV this week. Great to finally get some time behind the wheel. I think at some point we'll have to take this out to the Silver Lake sand dunes and really just kind of baja it around in a more open environment. But check out the off-road video at Hollyoaks when you get a chance. We did get a really nice drive in this, and I'm excited to share that one with you. So on-road, a fantastic vehicle. Off-road, probably the most capable off-road thing that I've ever driven. And the fact that you can get this from the factory for hopefully around $70,000 is just insane to me. So hopefully markups on these aren't too brutal, and we'll be able to get our hands on some more of these in the coming season, and definitely over winter, because I think this would be a pretty fun vehicle to drive in the snow too. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.